listenandthink.com and the 10th Amendment Centre presents Our Last Hope, Rediscovering the Lost Path to Liberty, written by Michael Maharey, narrated by Jeff Riggenbach.
The only rational way to understand the Constitution lies in an interpretive process known as originalism. To read the Constitution through an originalist framework simply means we seek to understand the ratifiers' original intent, what they believed they were agreeing to. Otherwise, meaning becomes a moving target, subject to the changes in language and societal assumptions over time. In a letter to Richard Henry Lee dated June 1824, Madison affirms this view of constitutional interpretation. I entirely concur in the propriety of resorting to the sense in which the Constitution was accepted and ratified by the nation. In that sense alone, it is the legitimate Constitution, and if that be not the guide in expounding it, there can be no security for a consistent and stable, more than for a faithful exercise of its powers. If the meaning of the text be sought in the changeable meaning of the words composing it, it is evident that the shape and attributes of the government must partake of the changes to which the words and phrases of all living languages are constantly subject. What a metamorphosis would be produced in the code of law if all its ancient phraseology were to be taken in its modern sense. Judges use a similar process when settling contract disputes today. They attempt to ascertain what each party believed it was agreeing to at the time the contract was finalized. We're not talking about a simplistic literal meaning of the words on the page. Understanding what the ratifiers intended takes some research and digging. On the other hand, a mystical veil of historical fog doesn't obscure their view of constitutional powers. We have records of the ratification debates and the ratifying instruments themselves. We also have the Federalist Papers and other documents written by supporters, used to sell the Constitution to ratifying convention delegates and the population at large. These essays were akin to the window sticker on a used car, explaining exactly what the ratifiers were buying. We also have countless letters written by framers and ratifiers to guide our understanding. With a little work, you will find the original meaning of the Constitution easily determined and understandable. Thomas Jefferson himself advocated this process of constitutional interpretation. On every question of construction, let us carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted, recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying what meaning may be squeezed out of the text or intended against it, conform to the probable one in which it was passed. Ultimately, the ratifying conventions hold the key to the meaning of the Constitution. It was the ratifiers who agreed to establish the new government and gave the Constitution its authority, and their understanding reveals the extent of power that the people delegated to the new federal system. As the years went by, many proponents of a strong national government argued for expanded powers, pointing to the debates in the Philadelphia Convention. As the framers hammered out the Constitution, many argued for expansive central power. James Madison himself tried numerous times to give Congress a veto power over all state laws. Those hoping to expand the scope of federal power later argued that these debates revealed intent to give the general government more sweeping powers. Madison said, "No, the ratifiers' understanding governs the meaning." Constitutional historian Kevin Gutzman paraphrases Madison's assertion. Some had committed the error of ascribing to the intention of the convention, which formed the Constitution, an undue ascendancy in expounding it. The authoritative source, he said, was not the Philadelphia Convention, but the state conventions which gave it all the validity and authority it possesses. As we saw in the last chapter, the ratifying instruments clearly indicate the ratifying conventions believed they were creating a federal government with limited, enumerated powers, all other authority remaining with the states and the people.
The narration and text for this video were taken from the audiobook Our Last Hope, written by Michael Maharrey and narrated by Jeff Riggenbach. The entire audiobook, as well as other great audiobooks, are available at listenandthink.com.